What is up, Terps fans? Welcome into another Fear the Podcast. I'm Matt Madern. I'm pleased to be joined here today by Colby Giacubeno. If you read IMS, you obviously know this guy super well. If you're not already subscribed to Made Hoops, go do that. I am like a junkie, fiendishly hitting refresh, waiting for more articles from Colby. We're going to talk recruiting here today. Colby, thanks for coming on, man. And how you doing?
No, man, I'm great. Always appreciate being with you, Matt. Love what you're doing. Love that you're over here with IMS now with your podcast. The product speaks for itself. You're pushing out great stuff. I know the subscribers are enjoying it. Just keep it up, man. It's going to be great. And then especially, I mean, you joined at a great time, right? In terms of like content wise, you got no shortage of it as we try to feel this new staff and what they're going to send this, the direction that they're going to send this program in. And it's just, it's got new energy around it.
Some of the knock of Willard on the message board, and I think, fair, was just how actively was he getting out and seeing guys personally? And I know you've been everywhere here lately, especially with the EYBL stuff going on and being down in Memphis and all those kinds of things. How active is Buzz personally out there? Like, are you seeing him front row and center and things like that?
So everybody has like a certain schedule that they follow in terms of how they're knocking out the different circuits, different events, what have you. When I was in Memphis, I'm pretty sure Buzz was for Adidas, and then they did a day maybe at Under Armour.
Gotcha.
The assistant coach, Lyle Wolf, who has seemed to kind of take a stranglehold on a lot of the recruitment thus far. He was in Memphis with me, so I spent some time with him.
Nice.
But and again, like I know this we're establishing IMS, and this isn't going to get me in a great light, but like I will say, like for everything that Kevin Willard is, people easily peg him as and whatnot. Like the dude was out there. The dude is out there. He's going to be out there. He's a personable guy. Like I enjoy sitting down and talking to Kevin Willard. And obviously his supporting staff who we brought with him from Maryland, they're all great dudes. And for those, it's going to be fun because I think a lot of recruiting battles are going to come between, Maryland and Villanova.
Feel that way.
They're not going to back down. I mean, that Villanova, the guys from the Maryland staff that go up to Villanova, of course, they're going to spread their wings and get into some rooms maybe that they weren't able to at Maryland just because the NIL situation is what it is these days. But they're going to hit the Philly than the local market. But now they can, again, confidently go into a room with a top 5 or so prospect and say, hey, I don't know if we fit you from a program perspective, but we have the funds to be right here. So they're not going away. I think it'll add like a little WWE type drama to everything, which I'm never against.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, man. So it was good. So no, I do know that. But what I did notice, and I think a lot of fans have noticed, I'm sure you noticed it, Matt, is like Buzz kind of works quietly.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of hype between what he does. It's just kind of like, hey, we're kind of hearing, for lack of a better term, buzz around some prospect. It's like before you know, he commits. And it's like, so he does a lot of the legwork behind the scenes. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen very quick activity now since he's gotten the job, and we'll see how it pans out.
It's seemed like what I'm kind of hearing anecdotally from folks is that like some of these key assistants, you mentioned Lyle Wolf there, or Steve Rockefort's another name you hear a good amount. They're like doing a lot of the legwork early and then bringing Buzz in to be like the closer. And it seems like once he gets really involved with the recruit, that's when this stuff seems to happen really quickly, which is great to have a guy like that to kind of seal the deal here a little bit. But
I think I don't mean to interrupt, Matt, but like I think that in that sense, I think it'll be maybe a little bit of a different vibe. And I think there's a couple things. I think it's coupled. So I do think Buzz is a tremendous closer. Yeah. I also think that the waves that Willard created on his way out are going to benefit this new staff.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was made known what this program needed from administration, university, whatever you want to say. And also now, the new AD knows what he has to do to appease and compete in today's era of NIL. So like, I think, but from that closing standpoint, yes, it's like, I mean, I know I posted on the message board, they did their local rounds of high schools, especially Baltimore. There's a few Baltimore schools in particular, like you can't just walk in and feel welcome. Sure. It's just not going to happen that way.
Yep.
You got to earn it. You either have to have a connection, some sort of things. They had zero. Bunch of Southern guys going into a Baltimore City gym.
Yep.
I don't know. Doesn't usually like end well, but or isn't on like a chipper note. But
Sure.
what I will say is, after that day, I was getting calls from the different schools that, hey, I just want to let you know they came through and blah blah blah. And it was the same sentiment from everybody. It's like, yo, they're going to be able to win people over. And I think that's what a lot of people worry about, right? Yep. Like, hey, they're not having anybody from the area, and that's been heavy conversated in AAU circles and high school circles. How can you not bring anybody on local?
Somebody to open doors for you somewhere, right? Like that would have been nice. Yeah.
But Matt, I mean, I think like, and for those listening, like the Northeast, we have a certain way of, or Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, we have a certain way that we are. However, that Southern hospitality and that mindset for people is refreshing for people like us. It could get frustrating over a period of time, but I think that it's going to be refreshing, and it'll sit well with a lot of people.
And like a Rockefeller, that's a guy that, recruited up in New England and things like that too. Like, it's not like they haven't figured out how to adapt to other areas. And I think they'll make it work here. And that's great to hear that they're already starting to make some inroads.
I mean, listen, like if there were any doubts, and I can confirm this, like if there were any doubts about what they could do, like getting Darius Adams, that was not on Darius Adams' radar at all. And I mean, I know Jeff reported on it. Like all that stuff was accurate. There was zero relationship there. It was kind of literally a shot in the dark. And could we just get you on the phone with Buzz? Right. Like, can you just have a phone call with them? And that's what it took. And so like, cool. I don't know if I'm of the ilk. Like, I don't know if Darius is a guy who's going to be a one and done prospect. Sure. But what I've always envisioned as a really good college player that could probably fit anywhere. And, if he can adapt to Buzz's tough culture, system, all that good stuff, like he's going to be one heck of a player.
If you can get in on a guy like that with everybody calling him essentially with no connection and get it done that quickly, it gives me a lot of faith that, some of these other local guys that Maryland hasn't had a lot of traction with, that, maybe there's an opportunity to get in with, at least a couple of them or turn a couple battles here and there. And I think, that's all you're really looking for at this point is one or two of these big names here and there. Can you keep that going enough? So I'm excited about that.
No doubt, man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially again with some of the local guys like that. They'll try to get in on. I don't know how, I don't know how great it'll go, but like they're gonna do what they can to get in on. Like one kid that Jordan Smith.
That's literally going to be my first question.
Yeah, like, and that's the big question because I'm fine with going on record. Like I think that kid's a lottery pick.
Yeah, he's so good.
And many people will put that to rest because of the lack of size, and I totally get that argument. But just the way that he impacts both ends of the floor and plays much bigger than his listed height, and the fact that he can fit into, alongside elite players and find his way, and he doesn't need the ball to be an impact, is what makes him so special. That's also why Arkansas, Kentucky,
Duke,
and you name it, are going to be giving him whatever he wants. There's going to be some fans like, well, why doesn't Maryland just get in and just win him over? It's not going to be that easy, but they're going to pursue it. And, I think it's not even so much of a waste of time, even though people say they brought him in on an official visit or something. Well, why aren't we allocating those funds to somebody we can get? Because you don't know. Because like the thing is, especially with this staff, again, this Darius Adams thing, it's going to be an excuse for a long time in terms of like, hey, you gotta throw it out there and try. But it's they're gonna get in on them. They're gonna try to gain some ground, and then I know the other name that everyone wants to hear is Baba. They're gonna do their due diligence with him. That's gonna be a long, drawn out, expensive recruitment. But you got to do your due diligence, and these guys are down for the grind.
It's just worth putting in the effort, right? Because even if you don't get him, you can get guys around him, being around that program, him having nice things to say about you to his teammates that are maybe the next tier down. Like that's still valuable stuff. And you see that trickle down effect and building those inroads for the next couple kids is worth it too.
I also think there's a little layer to this that now you have to hit a good batting average in order to get people's respect out of it. But if you're able to recruit the local kids or a few local ones and do right by them and they really pan out, I think Maryland might become maybe even I don't know. I don't want to like overspeak, but maybe even a bigger hub, because then people are looking at, look, they don't have any biased people on staff. You just go there, you work, and if you work, you're going to get on the floor. Like that's what it is. Whereas, before, another thing that I want to tip my hat to Woodard to, I don't think he could have put together a more perfect staff. Yeah. You address Baltimore, you address DC, Northern Virginia, and everywhere in between with all those guys.
It wasn't just one, I have a team takeover guy, and that's
Correct.
Our program, right?
Yeah, because that's the easy, low-hanging fruit is if a Baltimore guy goes and there's only a DC guy on staff, they don't mess with Baltimore dudes. Right. Or vice versa. But now, look, man, we don't have anybody from the area. Yeah. So, we just want players. Yeah. And if you're a player, we're going to make something out of you, and we'll make sure you get where you need to get to. I think that can also help in a grand scheme of things as well.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. That's such a good point. Just the clean slate, we're unbiased and we'll take good care of you. I think if I were them, I would just keep playing that clip of all the former players just raving about, them as a person or them as people. So I think
for sure.
I think that's huge.
And again, Matt, that could completely be way off the mark, right? Yeah, so who knows? But again, if one guy goes just trying to think of maybe a local guy. Again, they're not really in tight with anyone yet locally. But whether it is a Chase Foster or an Anthony Brown, or they get Favour Ibe and they go there and they kill it. It's as well as I do, it doesn't take much for that momentum to start. But the good thing is, as you said, they do have guys in a lot of very valuable areas, New England, down south, Midwest, that hey man, if I got to go get a grown man, they're a call away. Yeah, they're a call away. So I think we'll see how it goes.
I do want to circle back to some of the out-of-town guys here in a minute, but let me just stay local here for a minute. Team Takeover is killing it right now. They may be the best AAU team in the country at the moment. And you mentioned Jordan Smith. For anyone that hasn't seen him play, the first time I saw him, I didn't really get it. I was like, all right, he's a little bit of a small wing, defensive stopper. What does he do? Now he's running the point. He's we're actually creating offense. There's that little PVI pipeline down to Duke there, which, doesn't maybe bode super well, but you get on a guy like that. His other teammates are pretty darn good consolation prizes if you could get in on any of them. You got Qayden Samuels and Prince Alexander Moody from Bishop McNamara that are both awesome and guys I've really enjoyed watching play. Any noise or traction with either of them at all yet?
Yeah, so I just want to add this as a preface, because you mentioned it, how successful of a spring that they've had, and obviously they'll attempt at another run at the Peace Champ. Jamil Jones, man, I don't know if there's many other better coaches than him. Yeah. And I just want to give my flowers to him just because, and I'll admittedly say, me and Jamil really don't have that, a close relationship or anything. I just kind of do my thing, and Takeover is a very tight-knit program, and you see where it gets them, right? Yeah. But when you look down this roster, but prior to the AAU season, you're just man, this isn't what we're usually working with a team takeover. And you look up and they're, I know they dropped one in City, but they're undefeated. And not just by winning games, not an easy schedule, they're handling business. As you said, the layer of, and that is Jordan Smith being more of a point guard, that was absolutely on purpose. They want to showcase him and that he's able to do that in order to just add value to, him as a player, both in college and long-term. Then you brought up Qayden, who, Matt, I know you've seen him plenty of times. Qayden can score. Yeah. That's what he does. Anytime he walks on the floor, he's liable to put up 25. Now him doing what he's been doing early in the season on the EYBL circuit, especially after the first session, because once that first session ends, people think AAU, people think that AAU that these guys are just rolling the ball out and going. These coaching staffs are going back to the hotel room, in the conference room, in their rooms. they're watching film, they're preparing. Like there is some implement of a game plan and scouting and all this to this stuff, especially the EYBL, in the EYBL circuit.
You at least know who the top couple guys are you got to stop. A guy averaging 23 a game is, pretty easy to target.
Of course. That, and then like the other thing is like again, Jamil and his staff, they're scheming. They're scheming against other teams, against their sets.
Sure.
We see this, here's how we're going to blow it up. And, again, so for the rap the AAU gets, the elite of the elite, which they obviously fit this category, they operate in an elite manner.
Yeah.
But again, I couple that with what you were just saying, Matt. Like some of the kids maybe not be aware of Qayden, which is crazy to me because like you see him. But even after the scouting report is out, like, okay, we got to stop this guy. And Qayden's just still making it look easy. And the most important thing with Qayden, because this is the biggest criticism, is he's doing it in an efficient manner.
Sure.
We just, as he was an underclassman, which is expected, like, he put up 28 points on maybe 25 shots.
Right. It doesn't matter. They're still winning. And
yeah. Well, you're trying to figure out what to do with that. But now he is a primary option on one of the best teams in the country, and he's scoring it at an efficient level. And it's translating to wins. So there's got to be some merit to that.
And he's guarding people too. I didn't know he was a good defender, to be honest. And I've seen him like lock some dudes up so far.
He's prideful. I mean, he's a competitor. He doesn't want to get shown up. He communicates. He when he's really locked in, he can rebound it. And then honestly, like for as much of a scorer as that he's labeled, like he will make very good translatable passes as well. Nothing that's going to, blow you off your seat, but like just the right read at the right time.
The ball's not stopping with him and only him, right?
Correct. Yeah. So, especially again, because Jamil and the whole takeover organization, you're not going to be a ball stopper. Sorry, dude. Like you're not doing that here. You can do that elsewhere. You can do it during the high school season if you want, but here you're not. And then to kind of go into Prince Alex, he's kind of had a tough way to navigate at first because he faced kind of the same criticism as Jordan. Like, we need to see that you're more of a point guard because what are you? You're that tweener type. And he's found what I think is a great balance of like, he'll get on the ball in short stints when Jordan's out, he'll man it, but then he's also showing that he can be effective without it. And in a perfect world, yes, he would be on the ball 100% of the time, but there's levels to it. So, I will say with his play this spring, the interest from Power 5 schools are very real. And like I said, I mean, a school that I would really keep a close eye on with him, in particular, is Indiana. With Kenny Johnson coming from Georgetown, he's going to sink his teeth into the DMV. There's no doubt about it. And, Prince is a guy who I think would be a really valuable kid that you bring in. Maybe he's 10th on the depth chart or whatever. Let the water settle. He might mess around and get some time as a backup point guard.
Sure.
But by the time that kid is a back end sophomore, early junior, that kid's going to be a player because he's got everything else. If he can just learn what needs to be learned to play at that level, we're cooking with grease. So in terms of with Maryland, I think that with anything, establishing that relationship with Takeover is going to be a process. Yep. It's just going to. And that's why I didn't mind how they approached getting into the program and quickly grabbing guys from wherever they could because they were still quality guys. Sure. It's not, hey, let's just try to get guys from the local scene who
only
maybe
them
this level, right? They're not this level, but we got to show that we're recruiting locally. We bring them in. They don't play. Now we're pinned as the staff that, isn't going to play local guys because their local circle is going to start talking. There's not many win-win situations out of that.
Yeah, that's another great point. I hadn't really thought about like being patient this year and not forcing your hand a little bit. It will pay off for you in the long run.
I mean, like I said, and there's politics to this basketball stuff, just like with anything in the world, right? And there's politics everywhere within the basketball scenes. But I do think it's different in the DMV because we're not just dealing with 5 or 6 guys who are going to play big time college basketball. Like we're talking about a big number of players who are not only going to play high level basketball, like college basketball, but they're going to have a chance to play in the NBA. So with that, because a lot more people and a lot more, again, just a lot more stuff to everything else. But again, with that being said, they'll get in. I don't know if they'll press a lot of guys right away, like I just said, but they're going to get into rooms. Here's what we are. Here's what we offer. If you like us, great. And if not, we're not going to be the program for you.
You feel it out, and then if it clicks with certain guys, you go for there and you take it a little more seriously. And I think that's a good way to go about it.
I think the good thing is with Buzz and his staff and the culture that they're going to bring is just a hard hat, lunch pail, 5 a.m. We're out on the football field. We're going to get in shape. This is how we're going to play.
That'll resonate here. Like that fits.
People love that. And I know, especially where I am, like, that's how the Ravens are.
And, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we might not be pretty. Lamar Jackson makes us look a lot more attractive.
That helps.
But before that, we didn't play a pretty brand, but we're just going to punch you in the mouth and see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's cater to where you are. Like, the style will fit, and there is a little bit of, especially like it's a Baltimore brand of basketball. I think there's a slightly different style aesthetically on the DMV side here, I think, too. But two of the DMV guys, Ant Brown, you mentioned him a little bit. This is a dude that everybody was kind of sleeping on coming into last high school season, and now it's carrying over to the EYBL circuit here, where he's playing with Baba and some of these other guys. And it's another guy. He's showing up on scouting reports, and people are having a hard time doing anything with him. And you might see him initially and say, oh, he's a little undersized or whatever, but the dude just got some shit to him, I think. And that goes a long way. And he's obviously super skilled, because it can't just all be effort and attitude. He's making it work. So I don't know. Have you heard anything on the Durant side of things on any of these guys that maybe they're making more inroads with?
Yeah. So they definitely 100% will recruit Ant Brown. They're going to push for him. I think that they'll have a shot, at him. I think that, you look at what Wayne Pratt, who is the director there, Kevin Durant's father, is doing with Ant. Pretty similar terms of path with like a Caden Lewis. Yeah. Those guys came into their senior year or, their junior season of grassroots, viewed as guys like, hey, I think you're more of like a scoring guard. Like, can you really pass? Do you really make people around you better? Can you win? Yeah, all those questions. All those questions, the same one that surrounded Ant. And when I was in Memphis for the live period, there was a few games where, Durant had favorable matchups where Ant could have went out and scored 35. But man, I mean, just turning down layups to making the right pass and getting other guys involved at like high level stuff, to the point where, teams who weren't even involved with his recruitment, who may know me, were coming over and be like, yo,
who's this dude?
Is this like new, or has he always had this? And Ant has always had advanced vision, advanced playmaking, but like he's also had an advanced feel as a scorer from all three levels, right?
And his high school team needs him to do that, right? Like there's not other guys picking up that slack if he doesn't drop 25.
Absolutely. And that's that's the difficulty of the point guard position, in my opinion, is finding that balance, winning games, especially if you are at a, in a situation where you need to bring everyone up with you. And he showed that. I mean, led the WCAC in scoring, had some performances that were just, I mean, name a guy who was guarding him, and it just really kind of didn't matter. They took their lumps on the chin as a team with, some facing that more higher end, but that was kind of expected. But with what he's doing with Durant, again, session 2, I thought he was tremendous in terms of really showing the focal point of being more of a passer and distributor. I think in Kansas City, he got back to his scoring ways. We'll see if he can adjust, here later in July as PGM starts. But I mean, there's a lot more schools involved with Ant than there was, I would say, a month ago. And it's because of what he's showing and how he gets guys around him better, which, I don't know I'm not sure if they'll get in the running for Sinan Juan, but he's another one that Ant, I don't want to say
he's made him look good in some situations.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Right. And you never want to say, because that was my thing. When I was talking to people, I'm like, yo, Ant, his value is going to be dependent upon how Sanan's recruitment goes and how player X recruitment, how that blossoms. If they're blossoming, it means because Ann's doing his job.
He's enabling them to show off their full range of skills and things. Yeah.
And that's what a point guard does. And if he can find that balance, which not many point guards just plain can, of, hey, I can score in an efficient way and get my 20 to 25, but I'm also going to get everybody some love and we're going to win. I mean, that's what any college coach wants from a high level guard. So he's definitely shown those signs. And I think Maryland will be in the thick of things when, all is said and done.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd be good with that one. I would pitch him on the Wade Taylor role and just be like, hey, come here and do that at the very least.
Well, I think also too, in terms of a long-term point of view, because I don't know what Ant's ceiling is, but if you want to go somewhere where you're going to work on, I don't necessarily like weaknesses, but like if you're playing for Buzz, you're going to defend.
Yeah.
And we know you can score. We know you can pass. You're a high-level processor.
Great point.
Now, if you can really like just adapt and make this a part of your DNA, now we're talking about some things. So, who knows? I know Mississippi State is all over them. Yeah. There's a couple other schools that are going to get involved here coming up, and they'll do their due diligence with them. So we'll see. But I just feel like whoever Ant's going to be the type, whoever's most loyal to him throughout the process and consistent and not sugarcoating stuff. That's what kind of kid Ant is. So I think that's what this Maryland staff will be.
And we're starting to hear this a little bit from guys where Buzz had a first combo with them and was immediately like just very transparent, and it wasn't that sort of sugar-coated approach. And hey, I gave you a few things like you need to work on and stuff like that. So hopefully that conveys with these kind of guys.
No better time to be, Matt, because like I said, I can go get a grown man in the portal.
Exactly.
That would be my approach.
That's true. Another guard that you've written about here recently is Darius Bivins. Seems like he's blowing up here a little bit, playing on the 3 SSB side of things with Justin Caldwell, who I also want to talk about. So maybe we can hit both of those guys here back to back a little bit. But what is it about Bivins that's been able to sort of just maybe catch a few more eyes here this summer so far?
I think it's just more so confirmation that he is doing what he's doing at such a high level and still making it look easy. Like you'd see Darius, coming up, whether he was a freshman or, even during his sophomore year, like you saw the way, because Darius is a guy, he's not going to blow you away with athleticism. I wouldn't say he's seriously quick twitched type of guard, but the change of pace, the vision, the instincts, like none of that, I don't think, like change of pace you can teach. Sure. But the instincts as a passer, and I haven't really sat down with him long to see where that comes from. But in my doings in this stuff, like you don't get taught that. That's just off of how you're wired and how you see and dissect the game. And he's got it at a different level. And he's a guy that everyone would want to play with because he's going to he's going to set you up, whether you're a shooter, whether you're a big, and then, he'll make the defense pay when he needs to. He's not looking for his shot. He's just looking for the advantage. And I think when you have a guard like that, there's just not many of them out. Sure. There are plenty of things maybe boding against him as a very high level guard. Well, you're small, you're not quick, you're not big, so on and so forth. But, and he'll have plenty of time to do this from now until December. Darius is well aware of all those criticisms.
Right.
But if he keeps performing against that, against all of those criticisms, and he's performing well, what is it? What is it then? Is he just getting lucky all these times? That's not how it works. So, but definitely interested to see, because another name that Terps fans will obviously be all over. And we'll see him in June. Matt, I know you'll come through, but DMV Live, he'll be playing with Corey Dixon, who just transferred over to O'Connell, who I think will have a chance, obviously, to be on the Terps radar. Cool. That's going to be a backcourt that's going to be fun to watch. They both complement each other, and I think they do it with balance. But yeah, man, Bivins just super efficient, leading the 3 SSB in steals and assists, while averaging, I think, over 17 a game, if I got it right.
Mm-hmm.
On efficient numbers. Got to work on his 3-point percentage a little bit, which he admitted, but that'll get patched up. But just a great kid, tough-minded, has never really had anything handed to him. So in that sense, got buzz written all over him in terms of from a makeup. I know that when I had spoke with him recently, like Texas Tech, they're very much involved, and what Elijah Hawkins, another
I was going to
DB,
say you could sell him on a local guy he knows super well and how it worked for him.
And so it's interesting, man, because some of these kids, like they will pay attention to that stuff, and then some just like have no clue, which is to each his own. I never got to play at this sort of level, so they're obviously doing something right that I didn't. But my thing is, like, when you talk to the kids who are really dialed in with it, it's really interesting. And he brought it up right away, and just how all the ways that Elijah was used and how he thrived there and everything like that. So it'll be interesting. But those high level and high IQ guards, you can't go wrong.
And hearing that, if you're the Maryland staff, okay, here are the comparable guys we can show you. Like that's how I'd be if I know that's the kind of thing the level he's kind of operating at. I'd be trying to show some comps there too.
No doubt.
So the big on their team is Justin Caldwell. You mentioned that you wrote a great piece for this for Inside MD Sports over there. That this is a guy they're getting in on here a little bit. So what is it about Caldwell that's sort of catching their eye?
Yeah, man. I mean, Maryland is, and so is everyone else getting it on. So but I mean, Maryland has a good case, and they've been one of the more consistent programs that he hears from.
Okay.
If you had to stop the recruitment today, like it would probably come down to like Ohio State, Maryland, Butler's in there. They've been very consistent with them. So I wouldn't limit it to just those three, but I would say those three would absolutely be. Yeah, they would be somewhere in the top 4, top 5.
Gotcha.
But what he is, man, he's blown up over this past, I would say, 2 months or so. 6'8", big. That honestly, just in the big man sense, is like Darius. He's efficient. He both with scoring around the rim and just his overall movement. That's why those two are so fun to watch in ball screens. Just because, and I don't think he's ever had a guard with Darius's vision and anticipation and understanding and how to run those type of screens. But he's a guy who's willing to be along the baseline for dump offs, and he'll go finish it on over top of the rim. You can have confidence in him popping out to 3, catching with his feet and knocking it down. But he's also a guy who can catch at the top of the key and be a decision maker. I wouldn't say he's a guy who's going to break down the defense. He's not his straight line game isn't quite there yet. It's going to get there, but it's just not quite there yet. And I think it's just as he continues to get reps against high level competition, he's one of those kids, like when the rubber meets the road, it's gonna take off, and it already kind of has. But I think it's just more so his low maintenance, high production, efficiency, and toughness that he brings at like 6 feet. He's a football guy too, or he was a football guy too. So, I mean, not a 6'8", 225 on the football field. Like, no, thank you. I'm good. But you put that on the basketball floor, he's gonna rough some guys up, and no, not too many conferences that are better for that than the Big Ten.
Yeah, he can do Buzz Williams things. Plus, maybe there's some shooting in there too, which is, I think, the next step for what they've done is, can you get some of these athletic, physical defenders that now can also stretch it here a little bit? That would be exciting to see. Another name you've mentioned is Chase Foster. Similar kind of mold guy, a mobile big that does a little bit of perimeter stuff here and there. Any news or update on Foster and his recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say not a ton from a recency standpoint. I think so. When Chase shows flashes, man, I mean, I say this loosely. Like when he shows flashes, highest level stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's just not too many kids at his size where he's 6'9", long, fluid, lanky. And like there'll be certain parts of games where he'll put together a 3-play spurt, and you're just like I know in Memphis this happened where they were playing against Knight Riders, and a high major coach happened to come over just at the beginning of one of those spurts, and he was like, "Yo, who is that?" And I was like, You just got, but like, so
saw the tease here a little bit, but
right. And Chase knows this too, but like, he's just got to string that together. He's got to put it all together, make it consistent. I mean, my big Chase Foster story was back when he was in Baltimore. I didn't get to see him a ton because I had different assignments elsewhere. But I during the Christmas break, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to this game. So I went to the game in Baltimore City and went to see a game that he should have dominated. Okay, the first half, nothing. Like, he didn't score. And I was just like, all right.
Always how it works when you go out of your way to see one particular guy too.
You're right. I remember sending a text to a coach. I said, yo, he's got 10 minutes real time to show me something, or I'm leaving. Yeah. Long story short, he started showing me stuff within that 10 minutes, and he went on to score 25 in the second half and bring his team back down 15 at halftime and win. So, like, I say all that to say, if he's able to get that 5-minute spurt and make it a whole game, I mean, do whatever you want.
Right.
So, but when we were watching that Knight Riders game, Maryland was there. They were courtside, and I know, Lyle Wolf really liked him and liked what he could be. And, with a kid like that, you take him and you just figure it out. Yeah. But I mean, in terms from a recruitment standpoint, Penn State's offered him. They'll recruit him. Virginia Tech, West Virginia, which, like, the Virginia Tech thing will be interesting because, Chester Frazier's there, and along with that other guys on that, JD Byers, and like, if they have a chance at somebody, I feel pretty good about their chances with those dudes. But it'll be, I think where we are, Matt, is like, they saw the flashes in May. Mm-hmm. Now they want to see a little bit more in June. If he does it in June, then July, it's like, okay, we need to be
at every press all of a sudden here, right?
We need to be at every Melo game, and now we need to show him that, like, hey, you're ours. So I think that's where we are in the process with Chase, but like, nobody has separated themselves yet. We're all just kind of on watch.
Gotcha. Another guy that's been mentioned a couple times here from outside the area, playing at Wasatch Academy. I got to see him at games. I know you were at over at DeMatha last year, is Junior County. I was impressed because he was a guy I knew nothing about, and like most times, you usually give me a couple good guys to pay attention to, and you're like, hey, pay attention to this Junior County guy. And he didn't have like an insane game, but he was pretty darn good, and he did enough things that, where he stood out with some higher ranked guys on the court. And it seems like this is a kind of guy that fits what they're looking to do here at Maryland too.
I think he's a guy that, like, yes, he's not going to do the loud 35-point game in high school.
Sure.
But, like, just throw him into a college rotation and he'll do what he's doing now. You know what I mean? So, like, those are the guys that I really like because it's the lazy way is like, oh, I see where you are. So great. Go here and have a great career, and I'll talk to you soon. So, that's how I was with Junior. Now he is improving his game. Obviously, he had a great year at Wasatch. They do a tremendous job with those guys. Now he's a Utah prospect, so they have Akenna Alozie. That Utah prospects teams is one to watch coming in July, and a lot of it is also because of him, because of Junior. So, but just a super efficient combo guard. He can play on or off the ball. He has great size, 6'4". 6'5" or so, can shoot it, gets to his mid-range spots. He just I know this gets thrown around a lot, but I feel like he just plays the game the right way, where it's like, if he's off the ball and he catches it, he just attacks the gaps, and he can make the quick read of just making the extra pass to a shooter. He can see the guys, cutting baseline. He can read before the play occurs, or, again, he can get to his spots in minimal dribbles. He's going to defend. He's a leader. And that's why, other programs, again, Maryland will have a shot, I think.
That's good.
But then you also throw in some other schools who, if they sink their teeth into them, who knows, like Purdue and Houston are also two schools that are, big fans of juniors.
Tough to beat out Houston right now for a lot of things, especially. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's one of those things where, like, if Houston's like, nah, you know what, you're our guy, like, it's going to be tough. Yeah. And even Purdue, like, I think he fits the Purdue mold as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Which wouldn't be fun for Maryland fans to deal with in Big Ten play. But what I will say is, every time I catch up with him, Junior has nothing but great things to say about the A&M or the former A&M staff, because when he did his official at A&M with them, and that's where they really got that close-knit relationship that has just turned over at Maryland. And he said he's definitely going to, come up here for a visit to get a feel for up here too. So
I love that. Yeah, I watched him play with a buddy that works for an agency, and he was like, maybe I better go over and say hey to his family, because that's a name I'm going to want to pay attention to for the next couple of years.
There's some more there may be a few more shiny toys that you have in your chest that you may not choose him over. But listen, bro, if I'm fighting for my job every year, I need something guaranteed. I need a junior
guaranteed contributor.
Yeah, I need a junior county. I mean, honestly, he reminds me a lot, in the idea, not the player, but the idea of a Darius Adams. You know what I mean? And Darius Adams, damn good player. He might not walk into a room and be, oh my God, that's definitely a future lottery
test guy. Yeah.
But guess what, man? He's going to produce, and he's going to do it at a really high level in college. So that's what you're looking for.
Last couple, Colby, so I don't take your whole day up here, but a few local guys, or local-ish, that the last staff was in on a little bit here. Shane Pendergrass is slightly further away from here than he used to be. Parker Robinson was a name that was getting a little traction, I thought, with Woodard here. He's been cool to watch for takeover as well. And then you also wrote about this one recently, but Favour Ibe, out of Mount Zion is a guy that Kevin Willard also has, some connection with there too. So, and are those three guys still on the radar here at all, or various degrees on this staff's radar?
So I think Shane very much is. I think maybe the only reason why they haven't, and again, this isn't anything I've been told,
sure,
but I would say I think the only reason maybe they haven't offered him yet is because they haven't been physically out to see him. They went to Under Armour, but Shane made the switch to Team Museum and Puma. Okay. They'll make their stops at Puma, maybe get some eyes on him, or just do wherever the Hargrave's going to be playing live, get their eyes on him there, and maybe do an offer at that point. Gotcha. But they offered him when they were at A&M. So, there's got to be something to it. Shane's only gotten better since then. I mean, he just went out to Pangos and killed it. So I expect a little, jolt of more teams to come in for him. But Shane's putting it together, man, and I'm happy for him. Made a move from going to Mount Zion to Hargrave, and I think that was just more of a move for his mental maturity. And I think he's answered that call. Also, being in that sort of environment helps you put on a little bit of weight. Playing against grown men, being in the weight room, living that lifestyle, that military lifestyle. So I think it's benefited him a great deal, and I think he's seeing the fruits of his labor now. So I think he's absolutely will and should be a guy that's on their radar. I think they just want to be able to show that they're doing due diligence and not a blind, hey, we're here, and I know we offered you last September, but we're just going to offer you again. You know what I mean? I think they want there to be some substance.
I got you.
Moving on, Matt, you mentioned somebody in between him and Favour.
Parker Robinson.
Parker, yeah, okay. So Parker will be one to watch. I'm not sure if they will get involved with him or not. It's going to be so. Parker's going to have his list of suitors because he's another guy that, I mean, at least to me, you can just see fitting in so well.
He's doing his role in college on this takeover team of just hit shots, space the floor, move the ball around a little bit, defend, try to get out in transition.
Yep, absolutely. And he doesn't try to do too much without the ball because again, at takeover you're not. Right. But even at OTE, where people can say what they want about OTE, but Parker doesn't give in to the, hey, you know what? Let me break this off. ISO, everybody move. Let's roll. You know what I mean? It's he gets his within the flow. Big Ten family. Unfortunately for Maryland fans, doesn't have to do with Maryland. It's going to have to do with Purdue and Michigan State, which will be interesting. Yep. And I know that, I believe Purdue officially offered him. I don't know if he has a Michigan State offer yet, but not only that, but there's going to be a bunch of other schools that get involved with him because, again, he's so translatable. But I don't know if anybody is necessarily in the race for him. I wouldn't say if I had to bet, something, I don't know if Maryland gets involved there, but could be one to just keep an eye on. You never know. And then with Favour Ibe, absolutely less than 5 miles away from Mount Zion. He's very familiar with the arena, the campus, all that good stuff. When I spoke with Favour last week, he sounded very excited about the Maryland offer. I think also it was just kind of how it happened, just because it came as a little bit of a surprise to him. It wasn't like, it wasn't something that was big and set up, or they've been talking for a while or anything. They got eyes on him. They loved him. You're who we want. I think that will be one that could come down between Villanova and Maryland. There will be other schools, if he were to have a hot June and July, to come in and make a run, because there's just not too many guys walking around that size, and with his fluidity and upside. But I will say the odds are stacked against Maryland if it comes down between him and Villanova, because they have the staff that was already familiar with Favour. They're going to have Chris Jeffrey in his ear, and they're going to have Malachi in his ear as well. So endless people that Favour is very close with, and Favour is very
Kevin Norris's son plays on that team too, right?
Yeah. And Kevin Norris will be all over that. So if they make a push for him, it'll be tough. But again, man, like, we're just going to lean back on the Darius Adams thing, because I did not have Maryland in the cards for that at all when it happened. So, but he'll definitely be one they pursue, because Buzz does great things with guys that size, and that's the thing that I'm really looking forward to as Buzz makes the transition to the Big Ten, more of a physical, downhill play, because you had to find that good mesh at A&M, because you can't just have that physical. We're just going to out muscle you. You had to have a Pharrell Payne. You know what I mean? He's got to be able to get his chin on the rim. So it's going to be interesting to see how they mix that front the front court up here. But I think he'll be fully on the radar.
Colby, any other guys you think we haven't talked about here that are just names worth paying attention to, or a name you really like right now, or a guy that should be on Maryland's radar that isn't? And any last one you want to leave us with?
I'll tell you, man. I mean, in terms of like. Nobody really like jumps off the page at me at this point. I think they are taking a very patient approach and the correct approach at this stage. I will say the 2026 class, especially locally, is not one that's going to move the needle a great deal. Yeah. And that's, as usual, the DMV has a lot of great prospects in that DMV class, but like, just for where we are right now, as as in the game, and where NIL and the almighty dollar and the transfer portal, and again, with a coach like Buzz and the staff and the culture, where you have to come in and be disciplined to get up at 5 a.m. and work out and be mentally tough and all that goes into that, where I'm not going to say all the kids are like this, but many of them are just like, hey, I'm not getting what I want right at this second, so I'm out. They're going to tend to lean more towards I don't want to speak for them, transfers, but they also know they got to sink their teeth in. Like, here's what I'll say, Matt. Talking to the right
couple guys that fit what you're
couple, right? So talking to a lot of coaches, and honestly, man, like it hurts kids for all levels. When I was asking coaches about, hey, like how many high school guys you bringing in? Now you will meet, some high majors, like again, like a Marquette. We don't do the portal. Like, we're going to grab multiple, maybe even a handful of high school guys.
Purdue doesn't take a ton, they're
correct. Yep. They're out there. They have the reputation. But I mean, for now, man, like a lot of these programs, like, we might bring in two. You might bring into, and we'll figure it out. And if they can't cut it, we got a bunch of grown men with us that we'll wait and see on. So, but in terms of names, not too many guys are jumping out at me for the 2026 class. It's more so like the 27s, like people got to keep their eye on Brandon Woodard at Team Durant, because with really Baba moving up to the 17s, it's allowed for a lot more opportunity for Brandon, and he took full advantage in session 2. Which I know Maryland will get involved. Well, they've already offered him, but they'll get involved and they'll be involved with him. As I mentioned earlier, like, I'm higher probably than a lot more of the local people on Corey Dixon, just because the instincts are there. He's already as tall as Juan. He's fluid getting to his spots. Juan is like he is hard on that kid, but he's hard for all the right reasons, right?
Sure.
Like he's not yelling at him about getting a bucket. It's always, stop trying to look cool, defend. You need to be in the right spots off the ball. Like those little things that like you don't really hear much from the stands during a game is what he's doing. So I just think if that all works out, he'll be a kid that's on their radar. Jamaal McKnight from DeMatha, he's another one, like just tough nose. He looks like a tailback. He's shifty. He can get to it. He's definitely got his own style, but like he's tough nose and he's always going to come ready to fight. And those are guys who I think thrive with buzz. And other names, like this is a guy who I think, might have a chance. He's just slightly undersized, is Beau Daniels. I know you're familiar with him, Matt, but he's a PVI, 6'7". You could get away with 6'8" on paper, but like just not a lot of nonsense to him. I'm just going to beat the hell out of you and get rebounds and score by the rim and set punishing screens. And so
fits in around the other guys there too, right? Yeah. Like he's not trying to break the play. And
more of an old school big, and he's always used to playing with really skilled guards. And I think there's something to that. And then, a guy that like who's had it doesn't really make sense, but a quietly loud spring is Jymin Veney. He's on Mellow. Okay. He's at St. John's. Guard, really good size, 6'4", dynamic on the ball. And again, like if I were to go down, everybody knows 27 names. Baba. A lot of people do know Brandon Woodard. You were familiar with Jamaal McKnight. I could go down a list of names and you'd be like, oh yeah, I know, I've heard of that kid before. Not many kids have heard of Jymin, but the kid's producing, and he's got very good bloodlines. And he knows how to play, and I think that's a name that folks should be eyeing on. Now, offers haven't come running in for him, but it's going to happen. So, just in terms of the more of a long-term perspective, those are guys that we could, that we could see maybe them getting involved. And I think, Matt, not to intrude on the show, but like, after DMV Live, you have time to like catch up on here again. I think it would be a great opportunity because I think that's when like the staff is like, yo, this stuff's right in our backyard.
People are standing out to him a little bit more now that they've seen him up front, right?
Yeah. Not only that, but like, let's go sit in this gym and like find guys that we didn't know about maybe prior, the big names, and see who we like. And, if I'm able to keep my finger on the pulse and whatnot, and like, come on here and just and let you know what they think, and or guys who are performing. I think it'd be beneficial. But I think after June, we're gonna have a lot more clear of a space of like, okay, here are our 5 or so 2026 guys that we need to get on campus and try to get it done.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great. I think that's perfect time to catch up. So I'd love to do that. Colby, thanks for making so much time. For people who don't know this, anywhere you go in the DMV on any given day, somehow Colby is at least at one of these gyms seeing these guys play and all the big events, man. So I if anybody's locked in on this stuff, it's you, and I appreciate you doing that. And again, obviously you should be following IMS already here, but if you're not, also go follow Made Hoops as well. I appreciate all the great content, man. And thank you.
As always, Matt, keep up the great work. Love what you're doing. Always here to chop it up with you, even though I was extremely difficult and owe you a public apology.
No, you're good.
But yeah, man, like I said, in the next couple of weeks here, end of June, get on there and we can get on here again and chop it up. And then especially, as July comes to an end and we start to like kind of get in the doldrums of the summer, when Peach Jam and the UA finals and 3SSP finals, when all that's over, another good time. So again, I'm not trying to be a program director here.
Oh, please. That's what people want. I think people listening to this are locked in right now. So that's a great call.
Just let me know, man. I always enjoy hopping on with you.
Awesome. All right. Look forward to seeing you at one of these gyms here pretty soon for DMV Live. And also on Twitter, Colby posts a lot about the things that are coming up here too. So if any of you listen to this want to get out and see any of these guys, he's a great source for figuring out who to go see when and where and all that stuff too. All right, everybody, know the drill. If you're watching this on YouTube, click that little like button for us right below here. Rate, review, subscribe. All that stuff is always really appreciated. Yeah, we'll be back here in a month with some more recruiting updates. So until then, hear the podcast.